At 4:12 a.m. local time, residents across northern Australia were jolted awake by a sound that people in this part of the world know all too well. The deep, guttural roar of wind accelerating past anything nature should be capable of. Tropical Cyclone Fina, once a distant system churning quietly off the Timor Sea, had intensified overnight into a powerful Category 3 storm. And by first light, the damage it left behind began to reveal itself piece by shattered piece. Authorities had spent the last 48 hours warning that this storm was different. Fina wasn't massive in diameter, but it was violently compact. A tight, brutal core with wind gusts reaching up to 185 kilometers per hour, or about 115 miles per hour. The Bureau of Meteorology said the cyclone behaved unpredictably, repeatedly strengthening when models expected it to stall, and drifting westward toward population centres with frightening speed. The first serious impact struck Darwin, the capital of Australia's Northern Territory. High winds ripped through neighbourhoods, toppling trees, smashing car windows, and peeling roofs off homes like they were sheets of paper. The airport was shut down entirely. An almost unprecedented move, as crosswinds and debris made the runways unusable. Thousands of residents were left without electricity as power lines snapped under the weight of falling trees and debris. In several suburbs, transformers exploded in flashes of blue light that illuminated entire blocks, followed by the eerie darkness of a city losing power one grid at a time. Motorists who tried to escape the winds described near-zero visibility as sheets of rain hammered their cars sideways. One resident said the rain sounded like handfuls of gravel hitting the windows, and that the house groaned as if the walls were alive. But Darwin was only the beginning. As Cyclone Fina moved westward, its destructive course scraped across the rural edges of the Northern Territory before crossing into the Kimberley region of Western Australia, one of the most remote yet culturally significant landscapes in the country. Here, the storm's winds intensified again as they slammed into warm coastal waters, feeding the cyclone fresh fuel that pushed its gusts near Category 4 strength. Remote Indigenous communities were among the hardest hit. With limited infrastructure, many homes simply weren't built for a storm of this magnitude. Emergency services reported entire roofs torn off and buildings collapsing under the force of the wind. Satellite imagery captured massive bands of rain spiralling across the Kimberley coastline, dumping relentless rainfall that triggered flash floods within hours. Some communities saw more than a month's worth of rainfall in a single afternoon. Roads turned into rivers, bridges disappeared beneath walls of brown, surging floodwaters. Power poles leaned sideways like snapped matchsticks. Residents filmed frightening scenes of water climbing stairs, swallowing backyards, and pushing cars off driveways as if they were toys. Rescue teams tried to respond, but the harsh reality was simple. In the most remote areas, they couldn't get in. Roads were blocked by fallen trees, mudslides, and floodwaters deeper than 2 meters. Helicopters struggled to stay airborne due to violent crosswinds, forcing emergency crews to wait for brief openings between wind bursts before they could attempt dangerous rescues. In one community, a family of 5 waited on their roof for nearly 5 hours as rising floodwaters swallowed their home. In another, a man filmed his last message to his family overseas as the wind ripped apart the walls around him. Thankfully, he survived, but the video spread across social media, capturing the raw fear Australians felt as the storm tightened its grip. As the cyclone marched further west, ocean conditions deteriorated rapidly. The Indian Ocean smashed against the coast in massive rolling waves, some as high as 6 meters. Boats were torn from their moorings, fishing vessels capsized. Entire sections of coastline were reshaped overnight, with sand dunes flattened and mangroves ripped out of the ground. The storm surge hit hardest in low-lying coastal communities, where seawater pushed inland, mixing with floodwaters from the torrential rain. Emergency officials warned that contaminated water could cause weeks of health issues, from stomach illnesses to mosquito-borne disease outbreaks. By midday, the full extent of the cyclone's fury became clearer. Transmission towers were down, cell towers snapped in half, emergency alerts could no longer reach parts of the Kimberley region. Residents relied on battery radios and word of mouth as the government urged people to shelter in place, avoid floodwaters, and brace for potential further strengthening as the cyclone tracked back over warm offshore waters. Meteorologists say Fina's behaviour was influenced by unusually warm sea surface temperatures, a trend that has fuelled stronger cyclones across the Indo-Pacific in recent years. Warm water acts like gasoline, feeding storms energy and intensifying them rapidly. Some experts fear that Cyclone Fina may be part of a disturbing pattern, smaller but more violent systems capable of delivering concentrated bursts of destruction with little warning. As night fell on northern Australia, the storm's true power was felt in the sounds that cut through the darkness. The shrieking of wind through broken windows, the snapping of branches, the metallic grinding of loose debris scraping across asphalt. Entire neighbourhoods sat in darkness, illuminated only by lightning flickering through the dense cloud bands swirling overhead. In Darwin, the damage bill is expected to reach into the millions. Fallen trees blocked major roads. Houses suffered ripped roofing, structural cracks, and shattered windows. Business owners returned to flooded shops and collapsed awnings. Wastewater systems overflowed in parts of the city, contaminating floodwaters and prompting health warnings. Schools were shut down indefinitely, and dozens of flights were cancelled, stranding thousands of travellers. The Kimberley region fared even worse. Early assessments show widespread flooding, long-term infrastructure damage, isolated communities cut off from supplies, and hundreds of homes either destroyed or severely damaged. Livestock losses are likely significant, as floodwaters swept through grazing lands with little warning. One of the most challenging aspects of this disaster is isolation. The Kimberley is one of the least populated regions in Australia, making emergency response difficult even in ideal conditions. Now, with roads destroyed and communications down, restoring access could take days or even weeks. Emergency responders are working to locate missing individuals, with several unconfirmed reports of people swept away by flash floods. Water rescue teams are preparing to search submerged vehicles along the Great Northern Highway once conditions allow. The Australian Defence Force has been placed on standby as the government prepares to deploy helicopters and aircraft for large-scale evacuation and supply drops. Meanwhile, meteorologists warn that the danger isn't over. Although Cyclone Fina has weakened slightly, it remains a powerful system capable of regenerating. If it drifts back over open water, it could re-strengthen and threaten another set of communities. Heavy rainfall continues across much of Western Australia, raising fears of landslides and long-lasting flooding. The psychological impact is also beginning to surface. Families huddled in shelters describe the storm as the loudest night of their lives, with many saying they feared their homes would collapse. Children cried as winds howled against their walls. Pets panicked. Elderly residents sat in darkness, listening to roofs rip and trees fall, unsure whether the next gust would be the one that tore their homes apart. As dawn broke again, aerial footage from the northern coastline showed entire neighbourhoods submerged in muddy floodwater. Cars lay overturned, roads were washed out, mangled sheets of roofing metal glittered in the sun. Some houses appeared untouched from above, but just metres away, others were shredded, a testament to how uneven and unpredictable cyclone damage can be. In the coming days, Australia will begin rebuilding. Power will return slowly. Repairs will begin. Roads will be cleared. But the scars of Cyclone Fina, the broken homes, the lost livelihoods, the sleepless nights will linger long after the winds die down and the waters recede. For now, thousands of people remain displaced. Dozens of communities remain isolated, and the full cost of Cyclone Fina is still unknown. But one thing is certain: nature has reminded Northern Australia once again that the region's storms are growing stronger, faster, and more destructive. And for the families who lived through the roar of Cyclone Fina, this will be a night they never forget.